answer any questions you might have. So let's go ahead and get started on our inbound and down journey. And if I were really clever, I'd wear a bandit hat and talk about my Trans Am, but I forgot the cowboy hat in a different part of the office. So BizzyWeb is a full-service digital marketing growth agency based here in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Our primary focuses are on digital marketing, inbound marketing, and web design. We have a number of awards that we're proud of. We're Constant Contact certified. We're a partner and an all-star winner with Constant Contact. We are also High Impact Grow with Google partners, a HubSpot Gold partner, and agency partner certified. In addition to that, we have 2 HubSpot trainers who are on staff at BizzyWeb. So we are fairly good at this. So what I'm going to cover today and how I'm going to cover it is talk about what the value of inbound marketing is, and then get into the fundamentals. We'll talk about your contacts, the buyer's persona and buyer's journey, content, and then talk about goals, how to set up the goals and how to do it in a way that actually makes the most sense for you. So if I missed anything, or if you'd like me to cover something, maybe I'm going to do it today. If maybe I'm going to do it in a later session, just let me know in the chat pane if you have questions or anything that you want. Finally, talk about what inbound marketing looks like. So why is it something? Why do we need to look at inbound marketing? Well, a traditional marketing plan focuses on finding customers. It's loud, obnoxious. It's trying to get in front of people and get them to listen to you and then realize that you should be the one that they're doing business with. But that, in this day and age, buyers are by and large more empowered because of the internet. They have all the information they need. It's readily available to them, and they are ready, willing, and able to ditch you at the earliest possible opportunity. They will go anywhere they need to because the internet provides them with that instant gratification. So with that in mind, what inbound marketing aims to do is to adapt to this evolving buyer behavior. What we're going to try and do is figure out if the world is informationally flat and customers can go anywhere that we want, what do we need to do to really get them to still come to us? So if we look at traditional marketing, it's marketer centric. We are pushing out a message, and we are the ones who are defining the message for the customer and then trying to find the customers. But in today's world, the customer is the one that's really defining the message. How their needs are and what their needs are unique to them because it is them. One of the most valuable lessons I learned in life, I learned from Ally McBeal, the old show in the 90s. Somebody asked her, why are your problems so much different than anybody else's? And her response was, because they're mine. So your customers all have these problems, and they all have their own worldview of which we are passing through. So we want to get them to look at us in the way that they need to look at something. So we do that through inbound marketing. It's focused on attracting your customers to the right content in the right part of the customer's buying journey, which is going to be fairly complicated and in-depth, and we're going to get into it today. Why do we do inbound marketing? Because number one, it helps us create some trust and credibility. As people are looking at every possible scenario or every possible solution, what they are primarily trying to do first is to admit, number one, admit that they don't really have a problem that needs solving. And second, they are trying to figure out how you are going to screw them in some way or another. Because we are all afraid of that. We're all afraid that the next buying opportunity that we have will somehow go sideways. So inbound marketing helps us by creating trust and credibility for the business to help soothe that open wound that our customers are coming to us with. It also helps our customers find us. We are not the ones who are barking at them. They are finding us at the time that they need us the most. So the difference is between traditional marketing and inbound marketing. Your role as an inbound marketer is to do 2 things. It's number one, it's to be helpful. And number 2, it's to be human. When I say be human, realize that nobody likes to be clubbed over the head. Nobody likes a really clever 5-word thing unless you're really in marketing. And if so, then it's, it's one of those things where you say, hey, I really am happy that somebody thought of that. But we want to give people what they need and treat them as real people. So when we talk about being helpful, really what that is we're not clubbing them over the head with everything at once. We're not standing up and spraying every conceivable solution that we have at any given time. So if we're a bank and you know, somebody says to us, hey, I'm interested in opening a checking account, we don't want to turn around and tell them about our great home loans and our great boat loans and our great student loans and blah, 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 blah. They haven't said that they want that yet because we haven't established that trust yet. So be helpful by saying, okay, great, I understand what you're looking for and how to help. So we do this through a couple of different ways. We do this through problem-solving blog posts. We talk about how the things that we've done in the past have helped other people and how we make them feel at home through things like personalized emails, making sure that they have sort of a larger sense of touch. So instead of saying, dear customer, dear valued customer, we're saying, you know, dear Tom or dear Sally or something like that. And we're creating educational videos and creating educational content that's really helping them. So, you know, again, if we're talking about that bank scenario, one of the common things that people ask of me as a small business counselor through the SBDC is, how do I get a bank loan? And if a bank were to ever put together a program to show what you would need to do to get a bank loan, you get a lot of people to sign up because you're already teaching them the things that you need and the things that you need to create a successful transaction with them. So I want you to ask yourself a couple of questions. Number one, when you create content, are you creating it with your prospects in mind? So not, do you find it helpful? Have you been told to send this out? Have you been told to post this on social media? Will your prospects find this helpful? And if so, why would they find that helpful? If you can't answer that question within a couple seconds, it's time to alter the content. Next, am I sufficiently explaining this thought or idea? I gave you 2 examples of a bank earlier, but the problem with a bank is that some of the things that you do that are banking related are very, very complicated and they don't synthesize well into a 2-minute video. So if that happens, figure out a different way to present the information. And third, am I giving them all the information and the resources that they need to make the decision that they want? The decision that we want them to make, which is to put up a hand and say, yes, I'm interested in talking further. Because again, people can go anywhere they want. They're going to choose whatever they want. So we want to give them all of the resources and be a one-stop shop for them so that when it is time to make the decision, they're doing it. And we do that through helpful marketing. Helpful marketing is clear, correct, and importantly, trustworthy. So we all know that there's a great opportunity to lie with statistics, but the helpful and correct way is to not do that, is to present right information at the right time. So again, back to our role as an inbound marketing, the second part is to be human. What exactly do I mean by that? Well, technology is allowing us to be more human. We are or have the ability to create even more segmentation, to really understand and drill down into what the people that we're dealing with, what their needs are, and how we can address them. So we do that, once we have that segmentation, that helps our customers feel connected to our business because we're talking to them about what they need, not everything that could be. We're just talking to them about what they need. And when you do these 2 things, what you end up doing is creating a marketing experience that your prospect will love because you're only talking about the things that they want to talk about when they want to talk about it. The inbound methodology looks like this, and I'll walk you through this because there's a lot to unpack here. There's a 4-stage process in inbound marketing: attract, convert, close, and delight. And within that, our customers, leads, people that we deal with, whatever you want to call them, have 5 different specific stages. So they start as strangers, and if we do our jobs as marketers right, we end up as promoters. So between there's a lot of different tools that are available to us that I'm going to unpack in a little bit, and a lot of different ways to provide content on a specific level, on a human level to those people. But keep in mind, and this is one of the bugaboos that I have because I'm in sales, is that people come to me all the time and say, I want to do just this one tactic. And my response is what you see on screen there, that a single tactic will not be as powerful as it is in conjunction with other things. It's a musical instrument sounds better when it's presented in concert with a lot of different things. Then you're really making beautiful music. So that sort of idea is very, very old, and it comes from really the start of the last decade, where in the 2010, 2011 scenario scene, where you really could make a lot of headway doing just SEO. You really could make a lot of headway just doing email marketing. But really today, you've got to do a lot of things in concert with each other to make it run. So let's go back to the inbound methodology and really look at this. So as we break this down, we're really going to start getting into the fundamentals of email marketing. Of inbound marketing, and how we really can make this whole thing sing. So the fundamentals of inbound marketing break down into about 4 different spots. Number 1 is your contacts. These are the people that we are putting into our flywheel and into our system. Number 2, are they the right kind of people, and what kind of journey are they taking? And we'll talk about that when I talk about buyer personas and the buyer's journey. 3rd is the content. What exactly are we telling them, and what exactly are we sharing with them in order to get them to raise a hand? And finally, what goals are we setting, and how do we set them? Again, if you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the chat pane. I haven't seen any yet, so I'm going to go ahead and keep going and start with our contacts. Your contacts are really the heart of your marketing effort, because we really need people to do anything and get our people involved in order to really make any machine go. So what exactly is a contact? It's really anybody in your sphere of influence. It's anybody you market to, anybody you sell to, anybody you partner with, anybody you do business with, anybody you employ, anybody you engage with, anybody who maybe just walks by the building. Any individual that you want to create a relationship with, that should be considered a contact. When I talk about a contact, that's who I'm talking about. So within that, we've got to have a strong contact database, and that's really the sort of the spoke of the wheel, because we're going to have a massive amount of information, and it has to be organized well and correctly. So sometimes this is commonly referred to as a CRM. It's crucial in marketing as well as crucial in sales. So what we want to do with our contacts is identify the ones that can successfully, that your business can successfully help and delight. So the example that I typically get is, I give you, is my mom. So a lot of times what we at BizzyWeb get hired for is new lead generation and new customer acquisition strategies. So let's say that you've hired BizzyWeb to create an inbound marketing strategy focused on new customer acquisition for you. And you have asked of BizzyWeb to give you new leads, basically, for your sales team and your marketing team. If I give you my mother's name, is that a good fit for you? Well, my mother's a 73-year-old college professor, retired college professor who lives in Minnesota. So Dave from Bradley, Illinois, that's not going to be helpful for Dave, because she's probably not going to buy from him. So once we identify the right kind of contacts that we can sell to, then we're really creating a great inbound marketing plan. Here's how I'd like you to think about this. Let's say, for instance, that we own a pet shop and we are trying to sell pet food. So we can create an email marketing campaign and send it to everybody that says that we have all types of pet food. But I, for instance, have a dog. He's very cute. He's sitting next to me right now. His name is Moose. He's 12 pounds. And so when I get that email talking about cat food or bird food, I'm not interested, because I don't have a cat and I don't have a dog. So instead, what we can do is segment our contacts based on the different buying strategies that they have. So again, we talked about the bank earlier. So if somebody already has a home loan through our bank, we don't need to send them new home loan information. We don't need to send them information. Maybe we want to send them information on refinancing instead. So by segmenting our contacts, we're actually creating actionable lists that we can do things with, because we know what the client and the prospect is specifically interested in. Next, let's talk about the buyer personas and the buyer's journey. This is a crucial part of really any marketing campaign or really any marketing effort, is understanding who the best customer fit for you really is. And the way that you do that is by creating a buyer persona. What is a buyer persona? It's really a semi-fictional representation of who that great customer really is. It's got some real information about their wants, their needs, where they pick up information, and what their goals are. So how do you create a buyer persona? You do it in two ways. You do some research on your best existing customers, and then second is you identify trends. And I'm gonna get into this in a little more detail. Third, create profile stories. So when you're creating the persona research, you are basing this off of actual research, not assumptions. And it's not something that you are guessing. So one of the things that happens to me when I sell marketing to people and I ask, who is your target market? If they say my target market is everybody, I'm no longer interested in talking with them, because nobody, unless you're selling warmth and love and food, not everybody really needs it. So when you're creating your buyer persona and you're doing the research, do actual research. Who are the best customers? Picture them in your mind. And when you're asking the questions of them, really actually go through and interview them and actually ask the question. Like, what is your role? What is your job title? What do you do at your company? What are your responsibilities? What does your company do? What does the company partner with? What does your company look for? What is their needs? What do they not need? What are you trying to accomplish with your marketing effort? Are you trying to get new leads? Or are you trying to continue to retain the customers that you have? What are some challenges that you're facing? Is it time? Is it money? Is it a combination of both? What are the watering holes that you, Mr. Ideal Customer, drink from? What exactly do I mean by a watering hole? It's a fishing metaphor, because I like to fish. Where's the place where you consistently and constantly go for new information? What are the trade publications that you go to, that you read, that help sort of enrich you? What social media platforms do you use on a regular basis? Then finally, what are your shopping preferences? As you are making a buying decision, do you use the internet to research vendors or products? Now, hopefully the answer to, you'll be able to get all the answers to those. So what I recommend you do is actually talk to an existing customer that you've identified as somebody who brings you joy in the Marie Kondo sense. Who is that customer and that client that you feel like, oh, I get to talk to Jamie again? That's great. And you're excited about doing work with them. You're excited about doing work for them. Those are your people that you talk to start. So you start by interviewing those people. You start by interviewing the former customers, people who have left, who you really like doing business with. You interview their coworkers if you can, and you even interview prospects. What brought you to us? Why have you decided to talk to us as opposed to anybody else? Now, once you start gathering that information, you can start seeing some patterns and similarities. Once you see those patterns and similarities, that indicates who your personas really are. So one of the things that we've identified at BizzyWeb is that the customers that we work with are really providing in a service-based business in some way. So we used to work a lot in manufacturing. We don't work as much in manufacturing anymore, because manufacturing has different distribution channels. So the people who really work well with BizzyWeb are the people that are providing a service in some way or another. And then what you do is you actually write it all down and you create this fictional representation. And I've got this available to you. You will get, if you do want my slide deck after the fact, I can give that to you, but I am going to give you a workbook on how to put together a persona as a thank you for listening to my show today. So as you're doing this persona work, you've created the background. Who are they? What are they interested in? Actually get into demographics. How old are they? What part of town do they live in? Do they have kids? Do they have specific buzzwords? Do they have specific mannerisms that they use? What are their goals? What are the things that they really need to accomplish? Not just a revenue goal. What is the thing that the actual person needs to accomplish? What are the challenges that prevent them from doing that? And then how do we help? And then actually provide some real quotes so that when you are referring back to these people, you're thinking of them as a real person and not as a fictional person as well. So that way, when you start creating this buyer representation, you're really thinking of marketing to a person, and you're immediately humanizing the effort because you're talking to a person. You're talking to Steve, you're talking to Tammy, you're talking to one specific person, and you understand who they are and where they're coming from. Once you have that person, then you need to understand what their journey is. And that journey is going to be all over the map, and it's going to be a little bit crazy to talk about how they get from being a stranger to being a raving fan. So instead of thinking about a funnel, what we like to think about is the buyer's journey in stages. So, and there are 3 different stages that I'm going to break down today. Number 1 is awareness. Number 2 is consideration. Number 3 is decision. So if you think about your buying tendencies as a person, more than likely it's going to be breaking down into one of these 3 buckets. So first of all, the awareness stage. That's where somebody says, I have a problem. The consideration stage is, what am I going to do to solve my problem? The decision stage is, I have decided to work with you to solve my problem. So let's start on the awareness. Oh, God, that did everything that I just said. Neat. Okay, I'm going to stop for a second and ask, does anybody have any questions that you want me to answer? Feel free and put them in the chat pane. I will write a little message in the chat pane, so if you've lost it, you can pick it up again. Feel free and ask at any time. And I have a massive amount of slides today, so if I'm going too fast for you, please let me know and I'll try my best to slow down. So we've created our buyers' personas, we've created our journey, we understand who we're talking to, we've got some segmentation of our list of people and our list of contacts. Wow, I don't know why that word suddenly became hard to say. The next thing we want to do is provide them with good information to help them make their decision and to help them lean into deciding to choose us. We do that through content. So what inbound really can be broken down to is content plus the context, which is the saying the right thing at the right time. So when we talk about context, not only are we creating content, but we're asking the question, who is this really for? That's it. I thought I had more slides than that. All right, well, I apologize. I thought I had more. Let's move on to goals. So when we're talking about our inbound goals, it's important to know where we are to start. So if you have no customers and then you grow to 1 customer, that's 100% growth. But that's not really realistic if you're an existing business and you're working already on new and exciting things. So when you're starting with marketing efforts, it's important to know a specific and SMART goal, and we're going to talk about SMART goals next month, but you want to know where you are and what you exactly want to achieve. So if you think about it, wherever you are in the world, there's 100 different ways to drive to Chicago. You got in your car and drove right now. None of them are wrong. Eventually you will end up in Chicago one way or another. But if you don't know where you want to go, how do you know whether or not you're going to get there? And if you don't do a little research ahead of time, how do you know which is the most efficient way for you? Again, pick on Dave from Bradley. He lives in Illinois, so it's probably going to be quicker for him to drive to Chicago than it is for me coming from Minneapolis. You do that through goal setting. That helps provide some alignment between your marketing and your sales team. So if you are creating a goal of saying, I want 10 new leads a month, then you have to understand what your sales team wants out of those leads, and then you have to go back and create those buyer personas on how to get them. So when you do that, you want to set a goal that actually helps your company grow. And you do that, what I like to refer to as offline revenue goals. I don't like sort of the vanity metrics of saying, I got 100 new people to my website this month, or I got 500 new people to look at an ad. That doesn't really help move the needle, the revenue needle for my company. So I want to make sure that the goal that I set for my marketing effort actually helps some growth. So if we put this into practice, what really does inbound marketing look like? Well, a lot of inbound marketing can be considered trial and error. You know, you try some things that works better than others. Sometimes audiences change, audiences needs change, but the more you try, the more you're going to uncover about your buyer persona, and the more you're going to realize that what they want when they want it. So I talked about this before, but inbound marketing really works best when tools and tactics are used together in concert. So if you think about what I've got on screen there, I could build a house with a hammer, but I could build a house a lot quicker if I used nails and a pencil to plan things out. Now let's really break down the buyer's journey that we talked about. So we start with strangers in the attract phase. Really what we're trying to get people to do is look at us and say that we are either we're helping them identify that they have a problem or that we could potentially solve that problem. We do that through a couple of different things. We do that through our blog. We do that through social media. We do that through organic keywords that help us help those people who are looking for a solution realize that we could be a solution. Within that blog provides that relevant content. That SEO tool is another thing that it can be really helpful, but is sort of it's sort of a black hole. You really have to make sure that your SEO is creating some means to an end. If you're not sure what SEO is, it's the process of affecting online visibility of a website in searches on paid results. So relevant content, SEO, the blog. So I wanted to include this because at this stage, we were trying to create educational content. We're trying to give our prospect an option, not just saying, buy this one thing, buy it right now. We're trying to say, hey, you've got some options within the spectrum of what your problem actually is. So content, SEO, blog, social media, those are the places that we can have people see us on the internet and start saying, hey, I'm ready to raise a hand. So what should you do and how should you spend your time? Well, you should really interact the platforms where your buyer personas spend the most of their time. So again, going back to the buyer persona, if you learn through your research that a lot of them are on Facebook, then great, spend a lot of time on Facebook. Similarly, if you learn the converse that none of them use Facebook, then absolutely don't do that. So the other thing that you can do is run ads. The problem with ads is that it's very much like a fire hose. It's great to a point, but it needs to be considered contextually, and it needs to be considered as a means to an end to get people to realize that they have a problem. So otherwise it's disruptive. You know, if you see something that comes up in your Facebook feed and it's completely not something you'd be interested in, it throws sort of a little monkey wrench in and it makes you hurt a little. You say, well, what's that there for? I don't know why I would need that. And you either ignore it or you purposefully go buy it. So the goal of the convert stage is to transfer people from the visitor bucket into the leads bucket. And as we do that, we're doing that through things like our forms and making our forms easy to use as possible. It's always a challenge to try and get some information, but not too much information on a form as we're filling it out. We can also use chatbots. That's something that's a relatively new technology in 2019, and certainly I think is going to pick up a lot of wind speed in 2020. A chatbot helps people feel like they're talking to people at any given time. Now, the converse of that is nobody really likes talking to a robot. Nobody really likes talking to something that isn't going to be helpful and it's annoying. So it's encouraged. I encourage you, if you're gonna do a chatbot, to use artificial intelligence, train it in a way that actually puts you through some scripting and puts your customers into a place where they do feel like it's useful. So all of our information in that first stage should get put into a CRM. And that's that centralized contact database that we talked about before. And I think everybody here pretty much knows what a CRM is. And if you don't, I do a webinar on the value of a CRM. Our next stage is the close stage. Then we're going from leads to customers. Then that's when people have raised their hand and says, yes, I have agreed that you are the person that I want to work with. So some of the tools we use are CRM, our lead nurturing through email, and using our workflows. So when you nurture, that's reminding people that you're out there and that you have a solution for them. You're not clubbing them over the head with it and saying, buy now, buy now. You're just reminding them that, hey, you're thirsty for some water. I've got some water that I'm willing to share. You do that through email. You do that through some social channels as well. And when you do email, you do that through a series of emails, usually telling your story from one point to another. If I told you the last part of BizzyWeb's story, that probably wouldn't be very interesting. But if I told you the start about how we started in a guy's basement, now we have 15 people who work here, and then lead you through our story and how we could help you, that again, that builds you that trust, and with that prospect, it helps them become more relevant, interested in buying. Once somebody becomes a customer, that's great. Now the challenge is not only keeping them as a customer, but making them excited and happy to tell other people about how great the story is. So let me ask you a question so I can take a drink of water after I ask this of you. When you buy something on Amazon and you look at the reviews, what's the first thing you do? Do you look at the positive or do you look at the negative? Chances are good, you're going to look at the negative first, because we all want to see that. It's titillating. It's interesting. Are these people legit, or do they just have some crazy people who wrote bad reviews on them? And it's fun and it's interesting and it's always cool to see. But the more value can be found in the ratio of good reviews to bad reviews. How many good reviews you have, because there's always going to be a bad review and it's always going to be screwball. So our goal as marketers is, how do we take those customers who have already had an exchange with our sales team, probably with our service team at some point, and remind them of that great experience and get them to promote our business into other things? Well, we do that through a couple of different ways. We market to them as customers. To get back to my bank example, if you've got somebody in who's doing one thing, and they have a checking account with you, what's their next step? What is the next thing that they're going to need in their journey? So your customers, they can be your biggest fans or your worst detractors. So it all boils down to how you help them and how well you remind them of the positive. So here's how I broke everything down today. Man, did I go fast. I had 91 slides, so I felt like I stumbled a little at the end, so I apologize for that. But I broke this down into a lot of really fast goals. Our goal at BizzyWeb over the next 4 to 6 months is to go into each of these steps a little further and really get into the purposes of each of these steps and how it can help grow your business. So talked about context. We talked about the buyer's journey, creating content, creating goals, and then what does inbound marketing really look like as we put it together. So as I said again, the value add that I want to give you for participating is a buyer persona template, how to create your own buyer persona. That's something that you'll get a link to, and I'll email you later today. Next month, we're going to be talking about your buyer and how the fundamentals of the inbound marketing journey include the buyer personas and their buyer journey. So that's going to be on Wednesday, the 5th of February already. And to get that, you can go to BizzyWeb.com/events, or I will send you a note as well. So thank you. Here's my contact information. I'm literally wearing that exact same shirt today, so that's a little embarrassing. But I'd love to talk to you further about your needs if that's something that you're interested in. Otherwise, if you'd like me to go back and cover any of this, I'd love to. We will have a recording of this that you can go back to. If you'd like to share it with other people, we can do that as well. So thank you all for coming. I will be here about another 5 minutes or so. So if you'd like to enter any questions in the chat pane, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks everybody for joining us today.